Greetings to everybody. Dumelang Sanbonani Makadi ni Masarase. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with B. My name is BMT Mkulu and I am a South African theatre practitioner, a sangoma, and currently an ESL teacher in South Korea and an occasional braider to my inner circles. If you are coming across my face for the very first time, hello. If you are returning and you are seeing my face, welcome once again, Chingu. Yeah, guys, I am back again and I'm trying again this thing of sitting in front of the camera and I am talking. I come back very revitalized, very energized, as well as very motivated after coming onto this platform and not being sure exactly what is expected of me when I come to this platform, because I'm very much aware that there's so much that one can offer this platform, but personally I didn't know and I could not find my space. And I do believe that after careful deliberation and after carefully asking for guidance from the entire universal ecosystem, I eventually decided that this is who I am gonna step up as in this space. I'm just gonna be having these conversations, and hopefully, out of these conversations, together we're gonna grow, together we're gonna learn, and together we're going to transform into being versions of ourselves that we need to be. With that said, welcome. So, as we're about to start this podcast, yes, it's a podcast. As we're getting into this podcast, right? I want to contextualize what I'm going to talk about today by looking, or rather, let me say, reading into. I went into Gemini yesterday. No, not yesterday, a couple of days, I think 2 days ago. I went into Gemini and I was like, okay, this is what I want to talk about in this episode. But I am not sure this is the context that I want to use, but I don't know what is the scripting. And then I said to Gemini, please find this information because I want to use this for contextual basis. And I'm going to tell you why I'm studying there. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your destination. The time is currently 4:30 p.m. For your safety, please remain seated with your seatbelt securely fastened until the fasten seatbelt sign has been switched off. Please keep the aisles clear of all carry-on luggage. When opening the overhead compartments, please be careful as items may have moved during the flights and could fall out. Before leaving the aircraft, please ensure you have all your personal belongings with you. And this is the context of my conversation today. I found myself in October 2025 having what I call the collapse, right? I found myself having the collapse of so many structures that I had solidified in my life for like the past 3 years. Know that I carefully built things block by block, only for me to face the great collapse, which was in October 2025. And this is what this conversation is about. Please grab something to drink because it's a lot. It's a lot. Like, I'm laughing now because I'm in a better space. I'm laughing now. But I remember at the time it felt like, oh my God, like, God, what are you doing? Where I was like, Smaggy, what are you doing? But yeah, let's get into it. We start September to go, or in preparation of the Great Collapse, which happens in October. We start September. I go on vacation with my friends. It's very much nice. I'm a person that loves to swim and everything. But I realized when I get into that vacation that, you know what, I am extremely exhausted. I have been working and working. Um, and whilst I was working, I have been showing up for friendships, I've been showing up for relationships, I've been showing up for my family. But I didn't like sort of have enough time to sit and check in how am I feeling until that very same moment where I remember my friends were in the other room having like a drink, but it was a Saturday and I was so tired that I was like, guys, it's 8 p.m. I'm gonna go to bed. Like, I'm gonna go and sleep, you know. Um, I had not done anything on that particular Friday that was physically demanding, but I was really, really tired that weekend. And thus spent most of that weekend trying to recharge and rejuvenate. And so we go into contract renewal season. My school asked me, are you renewing the contract? I'm like, okay, I have not yet decided, but yes, I think I'm renewing the contract, but I think I might not renew the contract. So when the documentation then comes for the renewal, I'm like, okay, fine, I'm not going to renew, I'm going to go home. All right. And then I remember that one time my handler comes to me and she's like, so you're just gonna give up on your job? I'm like, oh, does the school still want me here, right? And then she talks about these, okay, she thinks that leaving is going to disable the structure because the kids are already like used to me and stuff like that. But I'm like, I'm not sure, right? Because I felt like I'm extremely exhausted and that's the truth of the matter. But okay, I consider and I say, okay, fine, let us resign. Tell me why when I'm invited into the EMO, what again, they call me because the school has grievances on me. And I'm like, okay, what are the grievances that the school has? It's nothing specific. It's not like I was sitting in that meeting for like 45 minutes and there was nothing specific. They were asking me what was happening in the school. And because remember, regardless of what was happening in my school, I am in no position to say, hey, this is what I think happens. I'm there, like these people have got experience and this is how Korean schools are run. So there's nothing that's out of the ordinary that I can say is happening in this school. And they're like, okay. But I remember we kept having this conversation, and after back and forth of them trying to extract from me what was happening and me saying, I don't know, why did you guys call me here? But they said the school just gave this rating, but it's not specific. I was like, okay, I'm under the impression that, so I was like, can we terminate, right? It's okay, let's terminate. So after just that whole conversation of back and forth, I ended up leaving that message saying to them, I will wait upon the termination, and I left because I genuinely could not say what was wrong, and I genuinely could not say maybe this is what I'm doing wrong as a teacher. And I have this conversation with awareness that reflexivity as we have these conversations are very important. Like I need to like sort of sit and look also. I think that's what I've been doing the first 2 months when that thing happened. I was trying to understand where is it I might have stepped wrong, right? And it was never clear. And the people whose names were being mentioned in that meeting, we genuinely had like a great relationship together. We would talk. They would bring me gifts at work. I saw them as my mentors. I had a great relationship with them. I didn't understand why feedback about them, and I understood that it could be that they also did not say anything, and I don't want to conclude by saying that they said something maybe, but I was like, it's not clear. I feel like if then it was said, this is exactly what they said, but you're telling me this is how they evaluated, but you can't tell. So you're hoping to say I must say, how come they got to this? And I can't. Unfortunately, whatever happens, you can never influence how people view your work, because generally I would say I personally went above and above to simplify, to break down the concepts, to offer what I needed to offer. I even went beyond the scope of what I was expected to do to ensure that my students move, right? And so when that happened, I called everyone at home. I told them that I think I'm going to be returning. This is what happens. You see, if I say that crash happens on a Monday, everything else falls on a Tuesday. Literally, every emotional structure that I thought exists in my life fell exactly on Tuesday. Right? We move. That's a story for like another day, because I can start crying again. But to go to then the context where why I chose this context to speak about it in this. When I spoke to it, I said, there's a video on my TikTok that I made. I said, you know, when you are in the radius of things that you want, when you're in the radius of your blessings, and you know that I've arrived, or this is the destination that I was intended to go, and you already know that I'm either at Doha, I'm transferring, or I have arrived in Qatar and this is where I need to be, you know. But then there's also instances where I'm supposed to be landing, and this is the time of landing, but I have not landed. So that's what that TikTok was about. And now I took that to contextualize what I'm saying. I knew at a spiritual level, I knew at an emotional level that there were things that I prayed for beginning of the great collapse. And I wasn't aware that this is what I was praying for in the beginning of that collapse. I was partnering, I was going into fastings, I was doing everything, and I was praying for a personal development, and I prayed for change of scenarios. But I wasn't aware that I was praying that space away, or was praying that relationship away, or was praying that friendship away, or was praying that family, you know, dynamic. I was not aware, right? It just was that thing where I was like, this is how I need to move now. And so then there was that thing where, okay, we have taken you from this point. You said you want to go to the next point. However, now you are at the transfer station. And at the transfer station, firstly, you realize that moving, there was turbulence in the way. There was a lot of things that happened that you went away were happening because you had trust and belief that this is where I'm going and this is where I'm going to land. And I think there was a shock, a systematic emotional and spiritual shock that I experienced in a long time. I think the last time I had felt that shock in my life was when I was about to enter into Asoyami, and that was it. And I'd never felt anything like that comes to disrupt emotionally and spiritually in the way that this did, right? And I would like to sort of sit and get into the crux of exactly what these structures are about, but I'm very cognizant of the fact that it doesn't matter now. What matters now is that what matters now is the messaging. What matters now is the message that I need to put across on this platform, which is to say that the things that we ask for and the destinations that we need to get to will always disrupt the spaces that we are in. And I think sometimes when we pray, we forget that. Sometimes when we pasha, we forget to say also, please, as I'm saying, take me into the space of transformation. Make me also ready. All right. Like, we ask for the blessing, we ask for the change of the scenario, but we don't ask for the readiness to have to go through it, and the many ways in which it breaks you, or it hurts you, or it pains you. Why am I saying this conversation? I was on the internet, and I said, after my job ended and I decided, am I staying or am I going? What were the main reasons why I wanted to stay? The main reasons that I wanted to stay was because of the things that I have worked towards. I can't name everything, but I'd already built other financial portfolios for myself within me being this country, that it didn't matter to me that I lost this one particular portfolio, but there was then other things that I was doing to develop myself and to progress myself that I did not want to compromise. And I felt that that is where the I don't want to say the test, hey guys, I don't believe in tests, hey, but that is what I want to say, the trial. Is it the trial? Oh, but is this what people who say I don't want to sound? Yeah, but let's say the test, let's call it the test. This is where the test was, on the fact that after I have asked, and then I need to trade all of it away and say, okay, take it all, it's fine. What then? Am I willing to do that? Or I just want to trade one part and keep the rest for myself. Okay, like, this is what I want, this is what I want, but you can take this finger, leave this one, and this one you can take, just type of thing. But I think when then it was time to land, or when you finally need to, or when you're finally about to get to where you're going, then they say, okay, but we need to remove the whole hand, and we need to amputate the whole hand, and then for you to receive a new hand, right? So that you can then have a renewed hand, which is the resource, right, for you to do this work. Was I willing? And that's where the decision, after everything that I've gone through, looking for another job, looking to stay, looking to salvage, that's where the decision then comes from, to say, you know what, I have prayed, I have spoken to my guides, I've spoken to God, I've spoken to everything that I could talk to, that I believe in talking to, I have spoken. And if I'm losing it all, it is okay. I personally know that I have not one single day abused what I was given. Not one single day did what I was given make me feel like I am suddenly above water, and so I was like, if the time for me to then release it is done, then yeah, it's okay. So what did I do? Pack my bags, pull my suitcases. Mind you, I just came back from South Africa like 3 weeks ago, but I was like, okay. And I was like, right, pack everything, put it in my boxes, and I took the boxes to EMS just so that they can go to South Africa, so that by the time I come to South Africa end of February, which is this month, it's already and waiting for me. It's already and waiting for me at home. You know? But something changes as I'm doing that. So I sent like 4 boxes, packed my 2 suitcases to see how much I still have, and then I was like 2 boxes. And then as I'm doing that, clearing my luggage and everything, I decide to do one last prayer. I take out my candles, my 2 candles, a yellow candle, a white candle, I put it on the side. I finally say, me alone, have done everything that was in my capacity to make sure that I take myself out of all of this. And having seen and done everything, I have seen what's on the market. But me, when I left home, I was very clear that I'm not here to suffer. I was very clear that I am not here to suffer. I'm not here also to find myself in shaky conditions. And so I have sent everything. I have accepted everything. But also, you need to know that you cannot fail me the same way that I cannot fail myself. And as I've packed everything, the rest is up to you to ensure that upon my landing, opportunities are waiting for me. And I said, if on the 13th of February, there is no communication that has came from you, I am booking my flight. I am going home. Because I know and I trust that the plan is at home. It's no longer here. Right. So when I made the prayer, just after I was about to pack my suitcases, right? Someone might think I was sort of like giving an ultimatum to God and my ancestors, Owuti, whatever it is, like, you guys have got this deadline. But that wasn't the case. The case was, I found myself at a point where I have looked at everything that exists, and I remembered what I initially asked for, and I realized that 2 years exactly has been about that. But also I recognize that with everything as I am seeing it and as I'm looking at it and as what's in the market and all these attempts that I'm making of trying to salvage things, was me trying to take control of the situation that is somewhat supposed to change. And therefore, I was attempting to help God and my guides in the entire situation to handle it. So when I then kneeled on that day, because I can't even say it was a prayer, but what it was I just lit my candles and I said, this is where I find myself. And I think I officially surrender to the process. If you guys don't get back to me by the 13th of February, I am guessing all other communication shall be well received when I get home. Right. So this was me finally saying that I'm giving you the space and the time to not communicate with me now and to not sort it out for me now. If that's what it is. And if I need to find myself where I am back at home and I'm doing the work as I've done at home, then you guys will communicate with me, then that's okay. And I just decided to surrender to the process. I decided to not negotiate. I decided to not plead. I decided to not make them see the reasons why this still needs to happen. But I decided to say, based on what this was supposed to have done, because I remember very well, if you don't know the work I've been doing, before I came to South Korea, I was working in Kaya in somewhere in Dumbeni. And I'd been working there since from, after university and graduation. So when I say, when I asked for the job, there were things that needed to be done at home. Um, and umsebenzi wasemsamo, I did not want to put pressure on umsebenzi wasemsamo and to prioritize finances there. But please give me umsebenzi for me to be able to do the work that needs to be done in this house, including but not limited to my own Dumba, because Ndumbayam was at the back of the house and they had grievances on being placed at the back of the house, and I needed to build a new house in front of the yard, and all of those things needed money that at the time I did not have. So then I asked to get a job where I don't capitalize on people's spiritual ailments to finance the things that need to be financed in my own home. And that's when the and I think I sat with that for like 3 weeks. There was nothing. I was not looking for a job. I was telling my friends, don't send me recommendations. Like that's where I'm like, I don't want anything now because it's already decided I'm going home. My boxes. I started sending my boxes around the 25th of January. 25th of January. Yeah. You know what? I think now it's a heart and a soul thing. It's no longer a logic thing. Now it's a and I do that with the understanding and the guidance that I am who I am. And when I asked to leave, I asked Imsamo. And if they decided that it is done, it is done. Even if I can cry and say this is what needs to happen, if the decision from the entire council of elders along with Umbeli decided that it's no longer happening for me, it won't happen for me. And hence all those structures had to fall. Right. On Thursday, I knock off and I receive an emergency interview. And these are recruiters I spoke to. And then they told me that they spoke to one of my teachers to give a reference. But that was a while ago, and I'd never heard anything from them. And even when I did apply for the posts that were on their website, I never heard anything. And so I was like, okay, you know. And they then sent me, they're like, this school needs to hire. Please talk to them and whatnot, because they did not even put it on their website. They're like, please talk to the school and hear what they say. And that was on the 12th. I speak to the school on Friday the 13th at 2. At 4:30, I received an offer and a contract from that school. I make this video now to say that I got what I was asking for, right? And so, meaning that there's a very big opportunity for me to be staying instead of leaving, which is what essentially this video is about, to update on the video where I was saying I've decided to go home because I'm not finding what I'm looking for. So I found what I'm looking for. I'm sitting with wanting to make a decision as to whether or not this is where, or this is me staying. I do believe and I do hope that this is me staying. But more than anything, I think this has ignited something in me where there was a lot of things that I'd wanted to do that I never could get the time to do, and I would always delay. And one of those things, I know if you have been one of the 10 people I contacted last year about coming into my podcast to talk to and have these conversations of growth and transformation together, but it could not materialize. And if I do stay, this would be one of the things that I stay for, that I would want to do. Hence, I am featuring myself as my first guest on this podcast, talking and bringing myself to the forefront to start it, right? Before I organize other people to be here with me, because I realized that as I was reaching out to various people to invite them to my podcast, they wanted to see, can we see something about your podcast? But there wasn't. There was just a vision, and it was just, this is what I want us to talk about. This is about those stories of transformation, of hope, of things beyond our own abilities as human beings, but about the greatly divinely orchestrated events that happen in our daily lives that sometimes we don't pay attention to. And I saw, as I am doing and I'm talking and I'm here, I'm hoping that this is the start of something. And I guess everything else was the wake-up call for me to take my ideas serious. There's things that I'm obviously gonna have to compromise for this to happen, but more than anything, I am willing to ensure that I cut out on others so that this can happen, because this is a part of the work that I'm essentially supposed to be doing, or the work that I do when I work at home. So yeah, thank you so much for listening through. I hope I wasn't too long. And if you are a person that finds yourself at some form of a crossroad, I just do want to say that reach out to your God, reach out to your guides, reach out to things that you believe in, and I hope that you do find restoration, and you do find the insights, and you do find the clarity. With that said, guys, I hope to see you on the next one. Bye bye.